And I want to hit on something you said to me earlier, and it was Texas is desperate for our water, but Oklahoma may not necessarily be desperate for Texas's money.
If you look and you see what the drought is like in Oklahoma, we've got a pretty severe drought. If you look at the drought and how it's affecting the state of Texas, it's very devastating. Texas is looking at the fact that if they don't spend over $100 billion in the next few years to develop alternatives on infrastructure and resources and conservation, that they will be just annihilated in their agricultural uses for water. Additionally, when you start talking about the explosive growth that you see in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and in North Texas, they cannot grow past 2040 as far as their population under their current circumstances because they don't have enough water. Oklahoma has, in southeastern Oklahoma particularly, excess and surplus water. How much is open to some debate, but we have the opportunity to work with a buyer who is desperate for the water that Oklahoma has. For us, it would be a newfound source of revenue. We can certainly live with something that we've never had before. The people of the state of Texas are desperate for the water in order to continue their growth. They know that they need water.
Mm-hmm. Now, with both of you heading up this joint committee on water, are you confident that we can come out of session next spring with something comprehensively done?
The only thing that I'm confident about is that we will be gone the last Friday in May.
Okay.
You know, the last time that I was confident about anything in the legislature, I've turned out to be incredibly wrong. So I don't know that I can say that. I will tell you that water is an important topic in anywhere in the state of Oklahoma that you want to talk about. We hear from, certainly I hear from the senators, and I'm sure Representative Richardson hears from his House colleagues about we need water in our area, or to take care of and protect our water from being removed. There's an emotional tie to water throughout our state. Are we going to address it? I think most certainly it's going to be addressed. Will we be able to resolve it this year? I can't tell you that.
I don't foresee any grand answer being carved out in the first year, but I think there is a strong move from the leadership of both the House and the Senate, and from the governor's office both, that we proceed on this. I think that one of the best articles I saw in the paper was this last weekend, where Governor Johnson Murray, at the end of his term in 1955, they had done the 50-year plan during his term, and nothing had happened. It was put in, it was shelved, and the Water Resources Board has completed this plan, and to kind of, and I don't think anyone that's currently in the legislature wants to see it be put on the shelf, and I think we can start.
And I think most everyone is aware that we can't afford to pigeonhole this, because, like I heard you say it, you know, water is the new oil in many ways.
Exactly. The thing that Representative Richardson was mentioning, I want to echo, is that both the House and Senate leadership, as well as the governor, want a discussion on water. We want to put forth a policy. And you talk with people that were here 10, 12 years ago, and they'll say water was not a topic that was discussed in the Capitol. It was just that quiet, ominous thought in the background that no one was brave enough or foolish enough to bring up. This legislature is willing to take that effort and look forward as to what we need to do.
A final question. I opened up the show saying this is a convoluted issue. Is it convoluted, or is it just very complex?
We talked earlier that complex involved a number of different facets, and that convoluted was like a spaghetti. It's just there's a lot going into it. I think that you would have to say that it's complex because, as I said, water has an economic aspect to it. Water has an emotional aspect to it. We need to be prepared to address the fact that while water may help the state's economy somewhere else, it's going to come at a very emotional cost to those people that may see their water transferred from them. We don't represent one area of the state over another. We represent what's best for the people of Oklahoma. You've got to take into account the emotional issues as well as the economic impact of water.
So, Representative Richardson, what's all this going to cost?
Well, according to the projections that most recent I've seen, estimate over the next 50 years would be somewhere around $166 billion. Now that is a lot of money, but it's also phased in over several years. But that's going to be one of our big challenges too, is how do we address these massive infrastructure needs. I come from an area of rural Oklahoma that is highly dependent upon rural water that was built 50 years ago. Now those 2-inch lines that run out in the area
are leaky.
They're leaky, and they don't carry near enough water to service the additions and everything. And if we're going to deliver this water to the areas, we're going to have to do a lot of infrastructure work that looms on the horizon. And how we address that will be another major issue too.
Yeah, in many ways, it sounds like the conservation Representative Richardson is talking about kind of is the big picture here. We need to be good conservationists of our supplies of water.
We had a presentation at our last meeting in regards to conservation, and if we were just to conserve the current water supplies that we have, don't worry about any increase or anything like that, it would take care of more than 80% of our water demands 50 years from now in the year 2060. It does talk, though, about restricting the amount of water you use in an urban area like myself to water the yard, do all the things that we need to. You start going to high efficient, low flow plumbing equipment, things like that. It would require a very significant change in the way that Oklahomans lead their life. But yes, we can do that. I would point out that one of the things that we heard from the water study, when we're talking about drinking water in particular, is that just for that alone, it'd be $87 billion in the next 60 years. Well, our state budget is $6 billion a year. And so you're talking about in the next 60 years, we'll have to come up with 14 years of our current money just to replace that infrastructure. And as Representative Richardson was talking about, half of that, the money that's needed goes for rural areas that reach less than 14% of our population. That's a real challenge for the future.
Representative Richardson, Senator Crain, thank you both for being here. And if you want to see more of this discussion, just go to our website at okhorizon.com and click on this week's Value Added.